In the heart of Pyongyang, during a massive military parade, a young woman stands quietly beside her brother, the supreme leader, while thousands of soldiers march in perfect formation. She smiles calmly, almost gently. But behind that composure lies one of the most influential people in a country with nuclear weapons. She's not the leader on paper, she's his sister. And in 2026, her recent statements have just shut down any hope of better relations with South Korea, warning of serious consequences over border incidents. What if the person who truly shapes North Korea's tough stance, and possibly its future, isn't the one everyone sees in the headlines? This isn't just a family story, it's about real power in one of the world's most closed societies. If you're curious how someone can rise from the shadows to become a key voice in global tensions, stick around. We'll walk through her entire journey, step by step, from her early days to her role today, so you understand exactly who Kim Yo Jong is and why she matters. This will cover her background, education, key roles, major events, and the latest developments in 2026, all based on reliable reports from intelligence sources, state media, defectors, and international observers. We'll go into detail on each phase so nothing is left unclear. Before we get into the details, think about this for a second. In places where information is tightly controlled, how does one person gain so much trust and influence without ever being the official top leader? If that question pulls you in, this full breakdown will give you the clear picture. Let's start from the beginning. Kim Yo Jong was born on the 26th of September. Most reliable sources, including assessments from South Korean intelligence agencies like the National Intelligence Service and many Western reports, point to 1987 as her birth year. However, the United States Treasury Department, which placed sanctions on her, officially lists her birth date as the 26th of September 1989. This minor discrepancy is not unusual for members of North Korea's ruling family, where exact personal information is deliberately kept vague or secret to protect security and maintain an aura of mystery around the leadership. She is the youngest child of Kim Jong Un, who served as North Korea's leader from 1994 until his death on the 17th of December 2011, and Ko Young-hwae, his third wife. Ko Young-hwae was originally a dancer who performed with the Mansudae art troupe and came from a family with some historical ties to the regime's elite circles. Kim Yo Jong has two full siblings from the same mother. Her older brother Kim Yong-chol, born around 1981, who has consistently shown little interest in political power and is widely described as more focused on music. He has been seen attending concerts abroad and is known to be a fan of artists like Eric Clapton and the British rock band Oasis. And her other brother, Kim Jong Un, born around 1983 or 1984, depending on sources, who was chosen as successor and became supreme leader following their father's death. The three siblings spent their childhood in heavily guarded, luxurious residential compounds in Pyongyang. These included areas like the Changkwang Hill compound and other exclusive zones reserved for the top leadership. These places were completely isolated from the rest of society. While most North Koreans dealt with severe shortages during the 1990s, especially the period known as the Arduous March Famine, which caused widespread hardship and loss of life, the ruling family had access to imported luxury goods, high-quality food, medical care, and private education options. Kim Yo Jong's early life was kept entirely private. There were no public photographs, no media mentions, and virtually no information leaked about her until adulthood. In the mid-1990s, Kim Jong-il arranged for his children to receive education outside North Korea. The goal was to provide them with international exposure, language skills, and a broader worldview while keeping their true identities hidden from the world. In 1996, when she was approximately 9 years old, Kim Yo Jong arrived in Bern, the capital city of Switzerland. She was enrolled under the false name Pak Mi Hyang at the Liebefeld-Steinhölzli Public School, a regular state-run primary and secondary school in the local community. Her brother Kim Jong Un joined her shortly afterward, registered under the name Pak Un. Their older brother Kim Jong-chol was also present for parts of this period. To teachers, classmates, and neighbors, the children seemed like typical students from a Korean immigrant family. They learned to speak German fluently, took part in normal school activities such as sports and class projects, and lived in a modest apartment in the city. However, the setup was far from ordinary. North Korean security personnel, along with family members acting as chaperones, lived with them or nearby. The residence was placed under constant monitoring by regime agents to ensure safety and secrecy. Inside the apartment, there were personal items like photographs or posters of famous basketball players, which tied into Kim Jong Un's well-documented interest in the NBA and players like Michael Jordan. This carefully managed double life continued until around the year 2000 or early 2001, when Kim Yo-jong returned to Pyongyang. Later accounts from former classmates interviewed by Swiss media, as well as reports from defectors and intelligence analysts, have confirmed these details, describing the unusual level of security and the family's low-key behavior despite the protection. Experts suggest this time abroad gave her valuable insights into how Western societies function, how media operates, and how perceptions of North Korea are formed externally, knowledge that later proved useful in her propaganda and diplomatic roles. Upon returning to North Korea, she enrolled at Kim Il-sung University in Pyongyang, the country's premier higher education institution named after her grandfather and the founder of the state, Kim Il-sung. She completed her studies there and graduated in 2007 with a degree in computer science. In the same year, she began working in a junior position within the Workers' Party of Korea. Her integration into party structures happened gradually and without any public announcements, which is standard for relatives of the leader being positioned for future influence. Think about it. Spending years living under a false name, surrounded by constant security, while knowing your family's power depends on absolute secrecy, how does that shape a person's mindset? It appears to have instilled the discipline, caution, and strategic thinking she demonstrates in her current roles. Kim Yo-jong made her first public appearance in December 2011 at the elaborate state funeral of her father Kim Jong-il, held in Pyongyang's Kumsusan Palace of the Sunday. She was positioned close to her brother Kim Jong Un during the mourning ceremonies and processions. This visibility was significant. It indicated she had transitioned from total obscurity into the regime's inner leadership circle as her brother assumed power. As Kim Jong Un worked to solidify his authority in the early years, addressing potential internal rivals, reorganizing party and military structures, and establishing his personal command, she remained a steady presence at his side. She participated in Workers' Party meetings, state ceremonies, on-site inspections of factories and military units, and major public events. In these appearances, she frequently carried official documents, assisted with coordination, and managed minor logistical details, such as handling personal items during extended outdoor activities. From the outside, this appeared to be simple family assistance. Within the closed system, it reflected deep trust and increasing delegation of responsibilities. In 2012, she took on the role of managing her brother's official schedule and domestic travel as part of the National Defense Commission, a powerful body that was later restructured into the State Affairs Commission. Her duties included overseeing every detail of his movements, selecting travel routes, determining timings, deciding who would accompany him, arranging security protocols, and preparing contingency measures. This position placed her in direct control of aspects critical to the supreme leader's protection and operational efficiency. By 2014, North Korean state media officially announced her appointment as vice director of the Propaganda and Agitation Department within the Workers' Party Central Committee. This department is among the most influential in North Korea. It oversees all forms of domestic and external propaganda, supervises state-run media organizations like the Korean Central News Agency and Rodong Sinmun newspaper, controls the portrayal of the leader and the regime, and directs ideological education programs that reach every level of society. Although listed as a deputy director, she soon assumed effective leadership and day-to-day authority over the department's operations. In a political environment historically dominated by older male figures from military and party backgrounds, her quick ascent was notable. She focused on aligning Kim Jong Un's public image with the iconic style of their grandfather Kim Il-sung, emphasizing qualities like benevolence toward the people, revolutionary heritage, and strong leadership. These efforts helped sustain the multi-generational cult of personality around the Kim family and reinforce loyalty among the population through consistent, controlled narratives. Analysts from organizations such as the Center for Strategic and International Studies, defectors who have provided testimony to South Korean and U.S. intelligence, and various think tanks conclude that she has played an active, hands-on role in developing and implementing the regime's propaganda and control mechanisms, which remain essential for internal stability and external posturing. When one department controls the information flow to an entire nation of millions, deciding what is shown, said, and emphasized, who truly holds the greater influence, the person who gives broad directives, or the person who crafts and distributes the message? This is central to understanding her power. In February 2018, Kim Yo Jong made her international debut when Kim Jong Un chose her to lead the North Korean delegation to the Winter Olympic Games in Pyongyang, South Korea. This marked the first time a direct member of the Kim ruling family had visited South Korean territory since the armistice agreement that ended active fighting in the Korean War in 1953. During the visit, she held meetings with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, handed over a personal letter from her brother, attended opening and closing ceremonies, and engaged in limited interactions with international media and officials. Her composed and relatively measured demeanor received significant coverage worldwide, with some commentators interpreting it as a potential signal of openness or willingness to engage. However, most experts and regional analysts describe the trip as a well-planned propaganda operation. It aimed to create a favorable impression, ease international pressure temporarily, and sow division among allies, without any substantive change in North Korea's positions on its nuclear and missile programs or internal policies. Following the Olympics, she continued to participate in high-level diplomacy. Throughout 2018 and 2019, she was present at multiple inter-Korean summits between Kim Jong Un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in, as well as the historic U.S.-North Korea summits with President Donald Trump in Singapore in June 2018 and Hanoi in February 2019. In these high-stakes settings, she observed negotiations closely, managed visual presentations for the media, and ensured that every aspect of the regime's messaging remained aligned with core objectives. By the end of 2019, after the collapse of nuclear negotiations with the United States, Kim Yo Jong was removed from her position on the Political Bureau of the Workers' Party Central Committee. This led some external analysts to speculate that her influence might have declined temporarily. This perception was short-lived. In April 2020, Kim Jong Un was absent from public appearances for an extended period of about 3 weeks, prompting widespread international speculation regarding his health and possible succession scenarios. Amid the uncertainty, a strongly worded statement was released in Kim Yo Jong's name through official channels. The message was firm, assertive, and directed at both internal and external audiences, reaffirming the continuity of leadership and subtly indicating her preparedness to assume greater responsibility if required. Kim Jong Un returned to public view shortly thereafter, and Kim Yo Jong was reinstated in prominent roles with increased visibility and authority. This sequence of events marked a turning point in how she was viewed. No longer just a supportive figure, but someone with the capacity to represent the regime's voice during critical moments. The regime has a documented pattern of addressing perceived internal threats decisively. In December 2013, Kim Jong-un's uncle Jang Song-taek, who had been a powerful vice chairman and economic advisor, was removed from all positions and faced severe consequences. Testimony from high-level defectors suggests Kim Yo Jong endorsed the decision. In February 2017, Kim Jong-un's half-brother Kim Jong-nam died in Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia after exposure to the chemical nerve agent VX, with multiple investigations attributing the incident to North Korean state-directed actions. Additional reports from defectors and monitoring groups have mentioned instances where party and government officials received harsh punishments for showing insufficient respect or deference toward her. In June 2020, North Korea carried out the demolition of the Inter-Korean Liaison Office located in the border city of Kaesong. This building had been constructed as a symbol of potential cross-border cooperation and dialogue. The action was widely attributed to her direct oversight and approval. Over time, her official statements through state media became more numerous, direct, and forceful. She has repeatedly criticized North Korean citizens who defected to the South, condemned policies of the South Korean and United States governments, and in 2023 issued sharp personal criticisms directed at the leaders of both countries. Kim Jong is now considered North Korea's second most influential figure after her brother. She holds formal positions on major decision-making bodies, including appointment to the State Affairs Commission in September 2021, and maintains effective control as Deputy Director of the Propaganda and Agitation Department. Her responsibilities extend to shaping internal propaganda, guiding foreign policy communications, and serving as the regime's most prominent public spokesperson on a growing number of issues. Since 2020, she has authored and released more than 40 official statements on behalf of the leadership, a significant increase from prior years and a function that was traditionally reserved exclusively for the supreme leader. These statements address topics ranging from rejection of dialogue proposals to responses to perceived external provocations. Most recently, in January 2026, she issued a series of statements through the Korean Central News Agency concerning alleged drone flights by South Korea over North Korean territory. Specific incidents were cited from September 2025 and January 4, 2026. In these responses, she called on South Korea to conduct a thorough investigation, issue a formal apology, and guarantee no further occurrences. She characterized the flights as serious infringements on sovereignty and warned that any continuation would lead South Korea to pay an unbearable price. She explicitly rejected any expectations from Seoul for improved bilateral relations or renewed lines of communication, describing such hopes as hope-filled wild dreams or illusions that could never be realized. She reiterated the official position that the two Koreas exist as separate, mutually hostile states, with no foundation for reconciliation or dialogue. These recent declarations, issued in rapid sequence, demonstrate her continued central role in defining and articulating the regime's uncompromising stance on external relations. Kim Jong's trajectory, from a childhood kept entirely hidden, through years of covert education in Switzerland, to progressively higher positions within the party apparatus, diplomatic engagements, and now, as a primary voice of the regime, illustrates the unique ways power accumulates in North Korea. It relies on blood ties to the supreme leader, mastery of propaganda institutions, strategic handling of security and messaging, and unwavering personal loyalty. In a country that possesses nuclear weapons and maintains strict isolation, her influence carries significant weight for regional and global security. Her actions and statements help sustain the regime's internal cohesion, deter external pressure, and project an image of unyielding resolve. Should any change occur in Kim Jong Un's leadership status, observers from multiple intelligence communities and defector networks believe the established structures would position her to play a leading or transitional role based on her demonstrated capabilities and proximity to power. What do you think happens next? With her statements from 2026 on the drone incidents and inter-Korean relations still dominating headlines, do you view her as the steady force preserving the regime's hardline direction? Or does her increasing visibility suggest potential for even stronger positions in the future? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your input could spark useful discussions and help others gain new perspectives on this ongoing story. Thank you for staying with the full video. These topics deserve close attention, and conversations like this help keep people informed.